Hello and welcome to my second talk in the series Paradise Delayed. This time I'm talking about the dangers of holy books. Now, in my first I focused on that miserable, destructive and world-hating cult of the Witnesses, and I left them in my early teens and on marriage became an Anglican and thus a member of the established church. Anything to do with the nation's mainstream or establishment was anathema to the Witnesses, and in Anglicanism I found a welcoming and open-minded community. But there was also great joy in rejecting all the negative values instilled in me during childhood. But the Church of England, I discovered, does not wear theology on its sleeve, or even in its underwear. Indeed, you have to rummage around in lumber rooms to find any theology at all. It's all bell-ringing, mothers' unions, choir concerts, garden fetes, flower festivals and cake sales. And when people talk vaguely of Christian values, that orgy of destruction at the end of time, the sole obsession of Witnesses, well, it's not usually what they have in mind. What do they have in mind? Maybe the Sermon on the Mount, turn the other cheek, love thine enemy. Both, yes, a far cry from Armageddon, but even the Sermon on the Mount has its dodgy bits. In Matthew 5:17, Jesus talks about coming to fulfill the law. The law! It's the law of Moses! And the primitive barbarities of some of those 623 articles of Jewish law, and the Ten Commandments are just a taster, for all that they come from God, they do seem in need of abolition. I mean, listen to this one from Deuteronomy. If a man is caught in the act of raping a young woman who is not engaged, he must pay 50 pieces of silver to her father. Then he must marry the young woman because he violated her, and he will never be allowed to divorce her. Poor old woman doesn't even have much say in the matter. Fortunately, that law's not an English statute book, but in Jesus, yes, he's said to have been sensible about laws regarding Sabbath working and stoning adulterous women. And later St. Paul was forced to abandon circumcision and dietary laws to appease his Gentile converts. But this ambiguity on the law is dangerous when it's bound in a book that's claimed to be of divine inspiration. Shortly after the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus advises, or rather commands his disciples, that they should adopt what you might call a Jehovah's Witness attitude. And whosoever shall not receive you, he said, nor hear your words when ye depart out of that house or city, I'll shake the dust off your feet. Verily I say unto you, it will be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. To paraphrase, don't worry about those who neither believe or follow you. God will zap them at the end of time. Now, it's these Gospels for which an Anglican congregation stands and to which they face an acknowledgement of their unique status in the world of the written word. And Bible-wise, I can stick with the Gospels. The grisly weirdness of Revelation, St. Paul's flights of fancy about the rapture, and the book of Daniel, a favourite text for doomsters, don't need to go there. Gospel extracts from Mark 13 and Matthew 24, favourites with JWs. They are from Jesus' description to the disciples of the signs that will portend the end of the world and the sequence of end times events themselves that we can all look forward to as this wicked world is destroyed and the kingdom of God ushered in. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not from the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, no flesh should be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. For witnesses, of course, the elect to be saved are exclusively Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, how does the Archbishop of Canterbury respond to this text? A man without a malicious bone in his body, but a man steeped in Anglicanism. Unlike many of his flock, the Archbishop knows his Bible inside out. Can he reconcile his own benign and humane outlook with the end-of-the-world horrors in the Gospels, never mind those in the rest of the Bible? A bit of Googling provided a clue. I came across the following from a question and answer session in Winchester during Lent 2008. Question: how does all this stuff about being in the last days now relate to Christ's coming again in glory? Archbishop: what I read in the New Testament is that the absolutely cosmic decisive event has happened with the resurrection and ascension. History is going on and being transformed very, very slowly, and that it moves towards a consummation, when the Jesus who's gone to heaven in glory will be manifested for who and what he is, universally and finally. Oh dear. This sanctuary of sociability, harmony, architectural beauty, choral evensong, charitable appeals, popular schools and ecumenism is inextricably tied to this dubious and dangerous book. Sane, thoughtful people could ignore its horrors, but the veneration of the Bible by the Christian mainstream can lend legitimacy to those who choose to take it at face value. The Archbishop here appears to believe in a predetermined end of human history, an end when the whole world, rather than merely a significant minority of Christians, will share Rowan Williams' beliefs. He looks forward, presumably, to the day when all the world's skeptics, Jews, Hindus, Buddhists, atheists, Muslims, as well as wayward Christians, will realize the age-old errors of their ways. What else are we to make of a universal and final manifestation? Note that the ever-benign-sounding Archbishop uses the word consummation. He does not elaborate. That would spoil everything. The consummation to which he and Jesus in the Gospels refers is fully described in the Bible as a God-driven murderous orgy. Now, were the Archbishop to leap out of character and to describe the lake of fire as the ultimate fate of unbelievers, he would merely be quoting the book that lies at the heart of his faith and that he acknowledges as being of divine inspiration. Now, I empathise with the Archbishop to an extent. I thoroughly enjoy singing some of the beautiful music that abounds in the Anglican choral tradition. My fellow singers, they're great company. My children went to an excellent Church of England school. And if you've grown up in this temple of tolerance and compromise in the name of harmony that is the C of E, rather than the totalitarian cult that is the Jehovah's Witnesses, it must be easy to lose sight, if indeed he ever came into view, of the destructive and murderous horrors contained in the book that lies at its heart. The peaceful and moderate mainstream should, if nothing else, be made aware that their veneration, if only ceremonial, of the Bible gives strength to the fundamentalists. Meanwhile, I'll sign off with a quote from a Muslim author, Youssef Houayeri, a lecturer in Arabic and Islamic studies. He's referring here not to the Bible but to the Quran. So long as a revealed text is constantly judged to be the final arbiter of human affairs or of truth and falsehood, fundamentalism is bound to occur under various labels and systems of thought. Now, this talk on holy books is focused on the dangers of bibliolatry, but it is the status of the Quran that has loomed much larger on the world stage of late. Now, I've no doubt most Muslims want to belong to a religion of peace, but my next talk will show that so long as the Quran is at the heart of the faith, peaceful Islam is a contradiction in terms. Thank you for listening, and look out for the next vid.